Previously we took a look at Geralt, but now we're going to prepare for the approaching storm. Today we pick up the Yamato and become the son of Sparda, Vergil. My stats for this build are 60 vigor, 16 mind, 20 endurance, 12 strength, 45 dexterity, and 60 intelligence. This build is going to be broken down into PvE and PvP. I know everyone at this point has beaten the game half to death, but I want to make sure the build is viable for both, give or take talisman choice. After some time in the arena, I've gotten more comfortable against most weapon types, and let me tell you, using a katana feels very, very generous. In order to really outfit Vergil, it is quite simple really, at least weapon wise. You will only need 3 weapons in total, and they are found relatively early on. The Uchi Katana with Magic Affinity, and the Glint Blade Phalanx Ash of War. Moonveil, Magic or Cold Cestus with Endure or Quickstep Ash of War. Personally, I stick with the Quickstep to be a bit more fancy. However, going with Endure can prove very useful in certain situations against certain targets. If you want to be a bit more anime with your invasions, you could use Bloodhound Step to mimic the teleporting that Vergil does. Personally, I'm already using Moonveil, and I don't want to be too much of an annoyance in the arena, but that's totally up to you. For the fashion, I've searched plenty of armor combinations and settled on this: blue silver mail armor, Preceptors Gloves, and Preceptors Trousers. Let's go over Vergil's arsenal and why I chose these specifically. The Uchi Katana, truly a classic weapon for the katana family. Being a widely used katana in all the Souls games, second to the washing pole for style. It is reliable and a fast weapon, with one of the better running R2s in the game, both two-handed and one-handed, which is a great roll catch alternative to the jumping R1s. I picked magic instead of cold since the katana already does bleed buildup. I am not too worried about status effects on targets, whether they be bosses, mobs, or players. The damage itself is good enough, and the magic you can summon with the Scarian blades to mimic Vergil's own blue sword-like barrier. Not only does a lot of poise damage if blocked or on an enemy, but creates space in PvP. Mixing up the Ash of War and the charge portion on the R2 can be a really good punish option, or a great burst in damage in PvE. With a magic affinity, it has a solid AR of 666 as of update 1.09. with a beast scaling and intelligence, as the rest of the weapons on this list. While it isn't going to be our main weapon in the lineup, it is a great option nonetheless and fits the theme of the build instead of using a catalyst to cast magic. With 1.09, all weapons with the magic affinity have gotten better scaling, so it only left their build as being much stronger now, as well as the katanas getting faster recovery on their running attacks, as well as the attack speed of the attack itself. What else could we pick for the Beowulf's gauntlets? After the buff to fist weapons, Cestus has become quite a solid pick in both PvE and PvP. It has incredible speed, a solid stagger on the first hit, insane recovery speed, which allows for a quick hit and run attacks, or a rush down aggressive style of play. Combining that with Quick Step or Bloodhound Step, you can play very attack oriented into most situations as long as you pay attention to the boss timings and player reactions to it. For this, you could go for cold or magic either or, since the damage itself isn't what is the most important on this item. It's how many hits you get with it and the pressure it provides. I messed around with both, and I had more luck using the magic variant. It sits at an AR of 526. While that's a bit lower, it directly feeds off our talisman, the Rotted Wing Insignia. Finally, our Yamato, or Moonveil. This weapon is still considered one of the strongest by the community as a whole, even if it's only because of the potential damage on the Ash of War. Transient Moonlight just obliterates most things in the game, and it isn't a wonder you see new time players to this genre of games spamming the Ash of War to their heart's content. It doesn't eat up a massive amount of FP, it has 2 variants on the Ash of War, and hits insanely hard with the AR of 690. You could draw out some more power from this weapon by equipping the Magic Scorpion Charm. However, I mostly just stick with the physic, but with 1.09, they decrease the damage buff granted by a Magic Shroud and Crack tier and the other Crack tiers, so that's left up to your discretion. However, you will get no downside using the Physic, which is what I use, instead of the Ring. Using the Physic would put our weapon from a 690 AR to a 772, and the Uchi to a 753, as well as the Cestus to a 593. While this katana doesn't have anything else special going for it outside the badass moonbeam that splits off the blade, it fits the theme to a T. This is your main weapon in both PvE and PvP. I often find myself not using it as much as I should be because it is so damn easy to use this katana and not touch the rest of the kit entirely. Personally, since rune level 150 and PvP is already very tight in terms of damage numbers and what you can and cannot take, I tend to not bother with the ring since I feel as if I do enough damage already, and I really don't want to be getting 1 to 2 shotted by certain weapon combinations and setups. Combine the damage on your Ash of War with your Shard of Alexander and it is game over for anyone who either mistimes a dodge or misreads you in PvP. You can often get up to 1500 damage with this build depending on what your opponent is wearing. In PvE, this setup can be solid from early game to late game without much of a way in changing how you really play. You really just end up using your Moonveil to its fullest on bosses, whether you stick a bit to the theme more or switch out between all three. While the Moonveil is the deadliest in your arsenal, I tend to look at the other 2 weapons as utility for different aspects that I might come across. The talisman I picked up doesn't really change in either game mode. Rider Wing Talisman for the extra juicy hits works super well with the Cestus. Crimson Amber Medallion +2. I usually have this on any build at this point like most people do. Gives an extra 8% HP, always welcome in a high damage environment. Shard of Alexander. One of, if not the most busted talisman in the game. A flat out damage increase on all Ashes of War by a solid 15%. Lastly, Carrion Filigree Crest, so that we can spam our Ashes of War more within combat and have less blue juice over our superior healing, Sunny D. Lastly in our arsenals are Flask. Personally I stick with the Magical Shroud and Crack tier so I do not have to use the Scorpion Charm, and the Wing Crystal tier so I can light roll. This together feels like a burst mode in most hack and slash games, allowing me to move faster and deal increased damage without any downsides. Pop this whenever you want to go hard on a boss, or whenever you feel if you need to in PvP. Play aggressive afterwards and get as much damage in as possible. Remember, everything stacks multiplicatively in this game. That means you'll be looking at a solid buff stack of Magic Tier, Rotted Wing damage boost, Shard of Alexander. Truly enough damage output to make you feel untouchable. I found little to no trouble playing through this game with this build. I would have to say it's the easiest build I've ever made, however, it is sure as hell one of the most fun. If I had one suggestion for this build in PvP, do not be afraid of your own power, but also don't crutch it on it either. You can deal crazy damage, but spamming your Ash of War against people, especially with how long the game has been out, is punishment waiting to happen. I found myself using Moonveil to catch players off guard since the Uchi and Moonveil look very similar when holding. Swapping between the two while being aggressive can fool plenty of people, and allows you to get a strike off with Transient Moonlight, most of the time finishing your opponents quickly. Well, you made it this far, and I wanted to thank you, like I do every video. But man, 750 subscribers? Like, you guys seriously must really enjoy these build videos. The support is amazing, and how many of you watch my stuff on this game? You're nearly 200 away from 1,000. So I thank you all, really. And I want to leave you with one more thing. The next build I'm working on might be a bit different, but I have 2 or more crossover themed builds and from other games coming up, and I think I know which one I want to do next. I'll give you a hint. It's a strength build with a specific set of incantations. All of you stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video. Tarnished.